Okay then, so Warcraft, right, the first stage in the return of video game movies. Now, this was a movie that, of course, based on a really popular video game series, but one which I have never played. So going into this movie, I was going in completely cold. I've never played any of the video games. I'm not familiar with the Warcraft universe, the Warcraft lore. I saw the trailer. I was impressed with how, visually impressive, and it looked as though it was going to be a really fun movie with some really, really solid action in it. So I was sold when I first heard about this. And I really, really want video game movies to come back. Of course, the past decade has been dominated by comic book movies, but it'd be nice to see video game movies have a resurgence, and reach the popularity that some comic book movies have. So I wanted to go see this to support the comic book movies, the video game movie genre. So I went to see it last night, and I really enjoyed it. Now, of course, as I say, I was impressed by how vast and expansive the universe and the lore was. And yet, admittedly, if you're not a fan of the video game or you haven't played the video games, if you go into it cold, you're going to have some difficulty, understanding the lore of the universe. But when you get down to it, it's a really simple storyline when you cut it down to its essential parts. Basically you've got the humans, of course, you've got the orcs. The orcs cross over from their realm into the human realm, and the leader's planning on, taking over. And they're going into this whole new world that they're going to claim for themselves. And of course, the humans, they've got to unite and stand against these orcs and save their world. So it's really classic. Very much like Lord of the Rings in a way. You will unite or you will fall. So when you cut it down to that, you can get through it. So if you're going into it cold, you've never played Warcraft before, you can follow it. Very much like Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. I watched that movie without having played the Final Fantasy VII video game movie. But when you break it down to its simplest, it's a save the world movie, so you can follow it. So yeah, I would say right off the bat, it helps, of course, if you play the video games, but I think you can get some enjoyment out of it if you just go in cold. I certainly did. So yeah, it again very much a save the world. Let's stand and unite together to save our world film. But of course, this is setting up for a franchise. They added the subtitle, Warcraft The Beginning. So this is the first chapter in a series. So there is going to be a sequel. I don't know how many, but it looks as though we might have a trilogy. We might have something bigger than that. So setting up for something really, really big. This film is, and I'll put it this way: I'll certainly be back. I'll say that right off the bat. I enjoyed this a hell of a lot, and I'll be back for the sequel. As many sequels as they want to do, I'm sold on this. So yeah. Orcs invade the human realm. Humans have got to stand against them. The peoples of this universe have got to stand up and defend themselves. But then, of course, you have some of the orcs. They disagree with what their leader has in mind. Their leader is gonna just boom, wipe everyone out and take this world for themselves. Whereas you've got some orcs, they don't agree with this. They want to, see, they want to live in peace, in harmony. Let's see if we don't have to kill these guys. We might be able to live alongside and help one another, So again, you've got some dissension in the ranks there, and of course, I think as the movies go on, it's gonna build up and build up. So eventually, we will have like humans standing alongside a group of orcs to go to take out for lack of a better term, the evil orcs. Apologies for the lack of technical terms here, but that's essentially what we'll be building to. I think this movie was very much laying the groundwork. We see some conflict between the orcs in this, but we don't get to the stage where we've got humans and orcs standing alongside one another to unite against a common enemy. But I think we'll be building to that. But yeah, so it looks as though that's what this storyline's going to be, and eventually we'll be able to do away with the evil orcs, and then we'll be able to have a world where we live in harmony together. So I think that'll probably be the end game that we're working towards, but this movie just setting up for what's to come next. But that being said, it's still a really fulfilling movie-going experience. You get tired of going to see some films, and you get to the point where you think, can't I watch a film on it? Can't a film stand on its own anymore? You get tired of these films that are setting up for things to come in the future, and with some films that's you feel that that's all they're there for, rather than to provide a fulfilling movie-going experience. It's just like it's nothing more than a stepping stone. But this movie, I think it did a good job of, yes, it's set up for future films, but it works on its own. It did. I think if you go see this, you will feel fulfilled. Of course, this movie's 2 hours long, but it has a really good pace to it. It passed quick, I thought. And like I say, difficult for me to follow the law, but I could follow, I established the basic story that they were working towards, and that was enough to help me follow it. And you just got to go with it, I mean, yes, the thing about this film is it's very much in that high fantasy realm. You could compare it to Dungeons and Dragons. You could. There's a lot of commonalities, but so if you're someone who can't get away with that sort of thing, then you might struggle. But if you are someone who likes fantasy films, you'll not necessarily Dungeons and Dragons, but if you like The Hobbit, you like Lord of the Rings, you'll probably get something out of this, And there are parts that do feel very video game-ish, in terms of how characters act. Parts where it looks like a video game, and I mean that in a positive way. And that leads me on. The CGI in this movie, I've heard some people on, if you look on the discussion boards on Internet Movie Database, some people have criticised this for bad CGI. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. This movie, while being a fun and very enjoyable film, this movie was visually, it was stunning. And we're talking across the board here. The CGI, the way they've created this world and these cities. Because, like I say, again, someone who hasn't played the video game, I didn't know what to expect going into this. But the cities they'd created, these were stunning. And I'm talking about, I think it was, I'm sorry, I can't remember the cities' names, but the main city where the king lives, that was stunning in terms it gave Minas Tirith from Return of the King a run for its money. It looked spectacular. It looked fantastic. Like, the final scene of this movie, again, I don't want to give anything away, but you know, at the end of Return of the King, when Aragorn has his coronation ceremony on this at Minas Tirith, it was this scene at the end of Warcraft. It rivaled that in terms of how good it looked. This movie's visually spectacular, so if you're going in looking for a fun popcorn movie, yeah, fun save the world story, some really, really solid action, and surprisingly graphic and hard hitting in parts. There is a shot in this movie during one of the battle scenes where a guy gets his neck snapped by one of the orcs. Like I said, this is 12A PG-13, so they are making use of that. So yes, some really hard-hitting stuff in parts, but yeah, in addition to that, solid action, really, really likable main characters, I thought, and stunning CGI. And one thing to go along with that as well, the costumes in this, like the armour and the weaponry, really, really looks cool. It looks really good. So this, all in all, this lived up to my expectations. It really did. I don't. People have been saying that it's got mixed reviews. It's fair to say. Some people have loved it. Some people have said it's bad. This is not a bad movie. I'm not saying it's a particularly great movie. I'm saying it's a really solid film that could like be setting up for something greater to come, you know, because you can't blame a franchise for aiming to do that, getting bigger and better with each film. But yeah, this was a really solid movie. This is not a bad film. Much like the criticism for X-Men Apocalypse, much of the criticism completely unwarranted. Not a bad film. By the way, just as a side note, I loved X-Men Apocalypse, and this movie, Warcraft, I had a lot of fun with this. I really, really enjoyed this movie. And this is someone who hasn't played the video game. This is someone who just went in wanting to have a good time with this film. But yeah, granted, I can get away with the high fantasy stuff, so, it worked for me. But of course, as we said earlier, if you're someone who doesn't really like high fantasy, this one might not be for you. Some good light comedy moments in this as well. Not taking itself too seriously, so that was another wise decision, I think. But yeah, if this is the first step in the resurgence of video game movies, I think it's a respectable first step. I don't think the resurgence of video game movies will be dependent upon this film. I think the one which will make or break the video game genre is going to be the Assassin's Creed movie coming at the end of the year, and along with that, I think that is going to be the more accessible video game movie as well. It won't be, because I don't think we'll be getting too much into the high fantasy realm, if you know what I mean. I think, those people who aren't that hot on high fantasy, this one, Assassin's Creed, will appeal to them, if they want to just go see an all-out action movie, like, a medieval war movie or combat movie. Yeah, I think Assassin's Creed is going to be the one. As good as this one was, Warcraft, I think for video game movies, the make or break one will be Assassin's Creed, and I'm feeling pretty confident about that movie because I think we can all agree the trailer for that one looked really, really good. So yeah, I'll certainly be at Assassin's Creed because I really, really want video game movies to come back, and I think that's going to be the one to do it. As solid as this one was, I know that, but in the same breath, I appreciate this one isn't for everyone. Although, if you like high fantasy, and if you played the Warcraft games and you're curious about seeing it, I'd say see it. And like I say, I'll certainly be back for the sequels. So yeah, I recommend Warcraft. If you're interested in it, go. But yeah, I think Assassin's Creed is going to be the one. I think that's going to like inject a whole new lease of life into the video game movie genre, because I want them to come back. I really hope the Mortal Kombat reboot gets off the ground with the James Wan producing. Be great to see who they could get for it. Like director wise, if they could get Gareth Evans, who directed The Raid, to come in and direct it. If you could get some of the guys who starred in The Raid and choreographed it to come in and be in it. Get Christopher Lambert back as Lord Raiden, that would be fantastic. So yeah, I want them to come back in a major way. Mortal Kombat should be amazing if that gets off the ground. I'd love them to do a live action of Final Fantasy VII. Of course, we're getting the HD remake of the game for PlayStation 4. What a fantastic promotional tool that would be if they announced a live action movie adaptation to go along with it. That would be amazing. So, but of course, there's a lot of rumours, for potential video game movies out there. So hopefully, if the genre gets going again, we might have like films to last us for a full decade, like how the comic book movie genre's lasted us. Hopefully, it'll happen. So that brings this to a close. I really enjoyed Warcraft. Really happy with it. Really fun movie. Really solid action. Stunning movie. So I'd recommend it. So that brings it to a close. Hopefully video game movies are here to stay. And thank you for watching. I hope this review's been helpful to you in some way. And thanks for sticking with me. And I shall see you all next time. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you later.